I've always known that.
Drop the gun and get on the ground.
Hard work pays off. Dreams come true. Bad times don't last, but bad guys do.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Suds part of Suds in the Squared Circle. I am Vinny. This is Christy, and we've got a lot to talk about what went on last week in Port Charles. I swear, first of all, how was your week? How did everything go with your surgery?
Things went well, better than I expected. I only had to take pain pills for like 2 days.
Oh, good.
After surgery, which was like amazing. Not what I thought it was going to be worse than it was. Had some shoulder and back pain though, a few more days after surgery towards the end.
That's from the gas. That's from the gas. Yeah, it
was definitely from the gas because I could feel it radiating from my stomach up to my shoulder, and I was like, "That's from the gas stomach." So yeah, it went away after like a day or so. But it was not fun. So I'm really just trying to get my energy levels back now, which are a little like low.
Yeah.
But once I get myself back in the regular groove of things, it will be fine. But I have enjoyed lounging around and just petting my cats, which is what I would love to do and make money from my bed doing that, but that's impossible. So there we go.
Well, there you go. But you know what? While you were on the mend, there was a lot that happened in Port Charles last week. I actually went back to rewatch Monday's episode this morning. Because there was just so much that I couldn't figure out whether it was last week or the week before. They put a lot into last week. But anyways, I guess we could start with the main event topic. Sonny Corinthos arrested on Friday's episode, and it seems to me at this point, the umbrella story is starting to come together.
Yeah. I will say I'm not like, oh, Sonny got arrested, I feel so bad for him. Nope, that's not my reaction. I'm like, yeah.
Oh.
He deserves it. See, I'm kind of like, I don't care that much for Sonny. I think Maurice is brilliant. I love that he is a big advocate for mental health, and he's got a State of Mind podcast.
Yep.
I think that's fabulous. I'm just not a Sonny fan. I just don't tend to care. So when he gets arrested, I'm like, the thing is though, I was a little surprised because it kind of came out of the blue a little bit for me. Like, they're all just sitting there at the Metro Court hanging out. He's with Christina having that lovely conversation, and she's like the big champion for her dad. She loves her dad. Like, you can tell she's a real daddy's girl. And then the feds come in. It's like, okay, we're arresting you. I was like, okay.
It did.
Kind of came out of a little bit out of nowhere, but all right.
It really did come out of nowhere. So honestly, the reason why I call it umbrella storylines, because Austin and Mason, it's almost been revealed that Cyrus is somehow their boss, but the warden of Pentonville is kind of involved in it too. That's why it's like I made a comment on one of the 10th floor podcast tweets earlier in the week right after everything went down, where, because the biggest controversy was when Mason and Austin started talking about their boss, it was always she. And then at the end, they changed it to he. So I think the warden has always been involved, and they just roped Cyrus in recently.
Yeah, that's possible. I definitely know Cyrus is not a changed man now, because they've been dropping very heavy hints, and his little his smile looks like evil. Like it looks like an evil smile. Like, all right, I don't think you're a changed man.
Exactly.
I do want to say, mention because we're bringing up Cyrus. Oh my gosh, brother Cyrus with his Bible study on Friday. Wasn't that something?
It was.
That was one of the highlights of the week for me. I was like, oh, let's get into this. He's dropping Bible verses. But now this is something I've noticed just because I am a Christian, okay? I'm a follower of Christ. He has not mentioned Jesus once. So if you're going to have Bible study, like you're kind of missing an important part of the Bible there, buddy. So I don't think he's a changed man. I think he's using all of that religious rhetoric to, like, make himself.
I agree with you to the point where, well, I mean, partially. I agree that he's not a changed man. He's using the Bible as a way to push his agenda. As far as not referencing Jesus or what have you, I think that's more along the lines of the way pop culture doesn't want to recognize a lot of religion nowadays. So it's almost like they're skirting that line.
Yeah, no, they want to talk about God in like a general sense and just throw out some Bible verses, and like they probably just Googled some random Bible verses like these are good for Cyrus to use, and then they're not going to mention Jesus though, which is like the most important integral part of Christianity. Like you can't go to the Father God if you're not going for Jesus. Like so. Well, I mean, I just wanted to point that out. So I thought it was really interesting because at first I thought, oh great, we can have like Pastor Cyrus up in Pentonville. This would be great. Like turn around for his character, great redemption arc. And then I was like, what are you thinking, Christy? They're really not going to do it the way you would like them to do it that way. No.
Well, Cyrus had a big week. I mean, he started off his week talking to Drew and how, Drew kind of said, hey, I never asked for Sonny's protection. And, because he was, Cyrus went up to him and kind of thanked him for saving his life. And then Drew kind of came out and said, Sonny made sure, or Sonny's guys came to talk to Book, and Book's not going to be bothering me anymore. And Cyrus is like, oh, well, that means by extension, I'm under Sonny's protection too. Which kind of was that foreshadowing as to, okay, I'm under his protection by way of Drew, but by the end of the week, Sonny is in handcuffs because of me.
Yeah, there's some twisted things going on there in the crime world that I don't quite get yet. But I
agree to a point that it was out of the blue. And the reason why I say that is because I don't think there was ever any talk of the feds coming after Sonny at all until when the SEC was going after Drew and Carly, and they're like, oh, well, they're probably just going after them to get to me. And now all of a sudden Sonny's arrested, and then Dex gets the tip off from Carly from the guy at the I guess he works on the docks, who said, hey, your ex-husband's stuff is being targeted by the feds right now. They're planning a raid. So it really came out of nowhere, which almost leads me to believe maybe Brick turned on Sonny.
Yeah, we talked about that in the last episode. So that could be a possibility. I mean, someone turned on him.
Mm-hmm.
I think someone found that flash drive that Dex said today. I mean, kind of spoiling for next episode, that he like threw in a public trash can because it was so destroyed that he didn't think anyone could like access it. But someone did, apparently. Someone got a hold of it, and someone had the evidence to bust Sonny. So
I was actually thinking more along the lines of the flash drive that Brick had put together for Betty to find to give to her boss, and that stuff actually wasn't as fabricated as Sonny expected it to be.
I didn't think about that.
So
That's a good point.
I mean, it's a possibility the recording flash drive wasn't fully demolished, and that might be the direction they're going. But at the same time, I'm thinking it was more along the lines of the information, because I don't like all of a sudden they set up, they set up Austin and Mason's boss to get this fake information, but yet it's got real intel as to where Sonny's getting a shipment from Pikeman, right after that happened. So there's something there. Maybe Pikeman really is a front for the WSB, and Valentine was, the conduit to set Sonny up. There's a number of different possibilities there.
Yeah. I think you're onto something there for sure. I mean, it's something that I don't generally give too much thought to, just because it's just not one of my favorite storylines. But I mean, I think that could be right. And Sonny being a connection to all these other storylines, having this umbrella over three storylines makes sense to me. Because they kind of like to involve Sonny and Carly in everything. On stage, even if you're like, really, does Carly really need to be involved in the storyline? Does Sonny really need to be inserted here? But they do.
Exactly.
I mean, they're like the top two. I would assume they're one of the top.
Oh yeah,
they've got to be like the top 2 or top 5 people on the call sheet, right?
Oh yeah.
Like, every cast member gets like a number on the call sheet. So
yeah,
I would assume they would be like 1 and 2.
I tend to agree with you. I think they're right up there at the top. By the way, today is Tuesday, September 5th, 2023. I hope everybody had a good Labor Day off, except for me yesterday. I did have to work overnight, but that's what happens when you work in a job that it's open 7 days a week, 365 days a year, 24 hours a day. So it does.
You and the people at the pharmacies, God bless you, because that's rough.
So there was no new episode of General Hospital yesterday, so we don't have to worry about covering Monday's episode. But anyways, kind of switching gears. First of all, if you're watching on YouTube, go ahead and click the like button and subscribe and get notified. Something that I don't ever mention because I don't ever think about mentioning, but go ahead and definitely like, subscribe, and get notified every time there's a new episode of one of the Suds and Squared Circle episode podcasts. So on Sunday, I did release the Squared Circle news, which is going to be the wrestling part of the podcast on its own, instead of trying to put everything into one. So this is the Suds news. That was the Squared Circle news. And I'm going to be expanding over the next number of months as well into more, but more on that as we go forward. But starting with now, Season 2, Episode 1, this is going to be called the Suds News for Suds and Squared Circle. All right, let's go ahead and while we're on the subject of Cyrus, and talking about Cyrus, we got some interesting information this week from Austin, saying that Cyrus had always been coming around and paying his mother a visit and always bringing gifts, and it was actually Cyrus that paid for his medical school. So
yes, that was a fun revealing fact. So I was sitting there going, wait a minute, is Cyrus like Austin's father? I'm confused about the lineage here. I don't know if I'm getting that right.
I don't know either. Is it maybe that Cyrus is Mason's father and Austin's uncle? Because they did the whole big thing where Austin was Jimmy Lee Holt's son. And which kind of had him as part of the Quartermain clan originally. So are they, changing their story as if like saying, nah, plans changed, pal? Or is it that Cyrus is Mason's father? And who the hell did Mason meet outside the prison? They never revealed that.
They drop the ball on stuff all the time. It's just classic GH for you.
But it begs the question of, there's all this information that kind of almost came out of nowhere. Like, when Cyrus kind of smiled at Austin at the hospital. It's almost like, well, you treated me. I told you about the good book, and you know, come join my cause or whatever. And then when Austin gave Cyrus the flash drive, it was almost like, okay, well, now we know that Cyrus is kind of in charge, or one of the people in charge of that Gatlin Gang, from what I've heard it being called. Who called it that originally? I think it was Matt from the 10th floor. But then going ahead now and just finding out that Cyrus, it's like this storyline almost was put together with duct tape right at the very end to kind of bring things together.
Duct tape. That's a really good word to use for how GH kind of just like does it sometimes. Like, we'll just put some duct tape on and put it together. Like, fans won't notice. It's fine. But... I'm sorry that that's kind of how it looks like sometimes. Like, they just kind of like decided last minute, oh, we're just gonna do it like this, and
yeah, it was very strange to me that almost like came out of nowhere as to this truth being revealed. And now it's just a matter of where they go with it. Do we find out that Austin is now related to Laura instead of the Quartermains because he's Cyrus's son, or we don't know. But either way, we know there's some kind of a connection there.
A family connection. I mean, they're related somehow. So whether it's father son or uncle nephew, like we'll find out. But
yeah,
it's something going on there.
We'll definitely find out. All right. But then you look at it on Friday's episode, and the entire episode of Friday was put together beautifully. The editing, the way they did it with Cyrus's sermon Bible study overlapping with the pictures of Sonny and then Sonny getting arrested, and all you hear is Cyrus's voice, that you can tell by the innuendo in the speech. He's involved, as in vanquishing the demon, and Sonny being that demon, going to prison, and then him saying how life was the cage and this is where we are. A lot of blatant foreshadowing, and that episode was put together beautifully. I don't know who it was that directed it or put the episode together, but kudos.
Yeah, I like the ending. That was pretty cool. But yeah, definitely Cyrus as a sermon, as you call it, or what I call, kind of reminded me of, and some people are gonna hate me for this, but kind of reminded me of like a motivational type speaker, like a Joel Osteen or Joel Osteen type preaching,
a false prophet.
Yes, uses a lot of just motivational eloquence in the speech, but you're not really dropping a lot of things to back it up, like a lot of Bible verses. So it's like he dropped a couple, but it was just like, I can see how you're twisting,
it's saying a lot of words
for your own good.
Exactly. It's the charm. It's something that every false prophet has. It's something that every minister, anybody who's a public speaker that's a motivational speaker has. Its charm. But in terms of this, it's almost like he said a lot of words, but barely said anything of substance. And we see that in politics all the time, unfortunately. But the fact of the matter is that foreshadowing, and we saw the warden now of Pentonville being involved when Cyrus said, "Oh yeah, it's done," or "We'll keep you posted," or the plan is coming together, something to that effect. It just again revealed now who the head of that is. So maybe it's the warden of Pentonville that's the head of Pikeman, or again, we don't know everything yet. I'm in it for the ride though.
Yeah. No, me too.
All right, let's move on. Something that kind of caused a little bit of controversy online, as if there's not much that doesn't nowadays. Curtis came home from the physical therapy, from the living facility for the rehab facility. And I really liked that on let's kind of back up before that. On Monday's episode, he was talking to Stella, and Stella, of course, is the voice of reason for Curtis at all times. And I know Curtis isn't your favorite person, but at the same time, she kind of talked him into it and said, you got to go home. You're surrounded by people you love. You have the support. So go ahead and go home. And he does. And the part that actually caused the most controversy was Trina calling him dad.
Oh, yes. I noticed that. And I was like, Dad, what? I was kind of sitting there going, really? Really? We're going to call him dad?
Yeah.
I wasn't a fan of it because she's made such a point of saying that her dad, she feels like her real dad will always be Taggart, and then
exactly. Yep.
Just like automatically get in this habit of calling Curtis dad.
It made no sense.
It's just weird. It would have been better if she just called him Curtis, because we know that she's not like.
I kind of get it, because they kind of explained it, a little bit later on in the week when Portia and Trina were talking, and Portia, in one of her better wisdom days, said, I know you're just trying to help. So it's like, I can understand Trina calling him dad to kind of lift his spirits. But at the same time, I don't necessarily know. But, Portia basically said, I know you're trying to help. And with Trina, like, calling him dad is like, you're trying to make him comfortable, trying to show support, but you've never called him dad before. So it's kind of like you're going a little too far.
Yeah, I mean, it was a little out of the blue for her to call him dad. We were like, whoa, wait. I don't think we've gotten to a place where we can like really accept that or think it like makes sense.
Right.
Like, she's never really been in the habit of calling him dad before this, right? So it was weird. I think maybe the writers had a brain fart when they wrote that or something. I'll just have to give them like, benefit of the doubt, but it was just weird. It was a weird choice. And
it was very weird.
I mean, I'm glad Curtis is like home and getting this support he needs. I was actually thinking about something very just technical issue that they're probably never going to address because it's GH. But I remember that beach house very fondly because Chase and Brook Lynn lived there. I don't see this Portia and Curtis's place. That always seemed like that would have been a great place for Chase and Brook Lynn to just stay there, even post Bailey. I just like that house for them. I mean, I associate that house with Chase and Brook Lynn. I don't think I'm ever going to get that out of my head. But now that I know
that house I associate with Jax when he came back.
Yes. Yeah, I know it's Jax's house that he's like rented out, and he like gave it to Chase in Brooklyn for a time, and then moved out after Bailey, the whole Bailey thing, and they didn't need to take care of Bailey anymore. But I always was just like, wouldn't that have been great if they could have just kept that house for Chase in Brooklyn? But of course, Chase and Brooklyn were not in a place where they were like, going to be Bailey's long-term parents, or they weren't in a place where they're even thinking about marriage, which hopefully they'll get there. I think they're inching towards that now with the whole I love you and the whole will you move in with me thing, which we'll talk about.
Yep.
But I don't know. But anyway, this is a logistical thing, getting back to a logistical thing, because there's stairs in that house. And so, like, is he going to hobble up the stairs? Like, how is that going to work? Is there a bedroom on the first floor?
There is.
I don't know what the logistics of that are in that house. So I was just kind of curious if there is even a reason for him to go upstairs. Maybe they do have a downstairs bedroom.
Yeah, they did say, because I know Trina mentioned your bedroom's right here on the first floor, right through those doors. So there is a bedroom on the first floor. They kind of moved. I guess they got rid of a coffee table or whatever to kind of accommodate for the bigger wheelchair and for there to be way for it. I loved the scene with Marshall and Curtis. I enjoyed that scene a lot because Curtis was kind of looking at it realistically, saying, "Hey, I opened the Savoy. We got it to the point where it's, uh, it's profitable and it's, a success. And I think it's time now to move on." When Marshall said, Selena wants to buy it, and he's like, "I told her hell no." um, but I really enjoy those conversations. I think that kind of shows a different side of Curtis, where he's a little bit more vulnerable with Marshall.
Yeah, yeah, I can see that. I can see that for sure. I mean, I don't have much like, as you know, Curtis is not my favorite, so I didn't really pay attention that much to those scenes. But I mean, he definitely has a lot of hurt.
Yeah,
And he needs to get through. And I honestly feel like at this point, if they're gonna make it work with Curtis and Portia, like they're gonna have to go through marriage counseling.
oh yeah, of course.
He didn't even want to move in
Right.
after like they got married because of the whole secrets kept from him about the fraternity. So, like, y'all need to get yourself into some therapy, couples therapy, like ASAP, because he has stuff that he needs to work through. It's hurting Portia. Portia's obviously really been going through it with not having him around. It's tearing her up. So, like, I think they've been going to therapy. That's what I'll say about that.
Yeah. How
And
about
I'm glad Stell is there for them.
yes, of course. How about Marshall kind of telling Miss Wu, "Pack it up, your game is over," and basically saying, "We're keeping the Savoy, and your poker game is no longer going to be happening."
Yeah, so when I watched that, I was like, "Ooh, what's she gonna do? She's gonna do something because she's not
She
gonna
went to
sit
Sonny.
lying down." So she's not gonna be like, "Okay, cool, it's been great." Like, it's so. I wasn't surprised when she like went to Sonny after, because I think you did mention that to me
Yeah,
when we talked about it last time, and I was like, yeah. So she's like, Sonny, I've taken away that my little card game there, and he's like, he was okay with it.
yeah. He was like, "I'm not getting involved. I'm not going to go talk to Marshall. You got to figure out what you want to do on your own."
Yeah, so he was of no help. So I wonder if he's going to try something else.
It's going to be, so we'll see what happens with that, especially now that, Sonny is now going to be in custody. And, that's going to cause a whole chain reaction because, Drew won't be able to have Sonny's protection anymore while he's behind bars. And then now with the Savoy, Selena Wu could almost swoop in and, take over his territory. So again, another
Do it,
possible.
Selena. Do it. I like her. I like her a lot.
I
I think there should be more female mobsters.
Well,
I
it's
like
just,
when Carly did it.
Yeah.
Carly covered for Sonny for a while, and I thought she did fabulous. And I'm not normally a Carly fan, so she had me. I was like, okay, you go, girl. You like walk in there and you command that meeting. I
Yep.
like it. So I think there should be more female mobsters. Why is it got to be male dominated? No.
No, I can understand that, and I agree. Carly did a fantastic job while she was at the head of the table, so to speak. And you kind of had Ava soften up a bit. Ava used to be ruthless, and then she softened up when when Avery was born and when Kiki died. It's just she softened up. You see glimpses here and there, like when she bashed Nicholas over the head. But ultimately, she's not who she was when she came in.
No, she has changed, but I think those experiences like changed her and maybe made her have, I don't know. She must have a lot more grace and patience for people because she's friends with Nina and all.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
All right. So kind of let's move on to a different topic here. We're gonna try to keep the episodes a little shorter than we have been, just because of people have the attention spans are very short nowadays. So we're gonna do a new thing starting with this episode. We're gonna break it down into shorts with topics. We're still going to post the entire show in its entirety on both YouTube and the podcast feed. But I'm also going to break it down into segments. And after, as we talk about different topics, so that there'll be maybe 6 to 10 minute segments as opposed to watching the full hour and a half show or whatever. So we're going to try that with this episode. So just to let everybody know, if you're listening to the full, the full podcast, if you want to go to a specific topic, you can go up to the YouTube page. All right, let's kind of switch gears a little bit, and we saw the Port Charles debut of Jackson Montgomery coming in as the lawyer against deception. And let me tell you something. I could feel Maxie's frustration in the courtroom when Lucy said, "Oh, I fired her. I fired the lawyer," and because she wanted to get Martin Gray to come in and do it, and then he had his last minute meeting with Valentine and again couldn't. But Maxie was like, "How could you fire the lawyer? We can't do it ourselves."
Yeah, good point, Matt. I mean, good point. Like they need legal representation. They're in a real pickle there with Tracy fighting for the Deceptor. Like they're between a rock and a hard place.
So was it? I mean, I
feel for Lucy because she has fought so hard.
No, I agree with you. My biggest question is, did Tracy take the information that Brook Lynn got from Maxie's computer and all that information? Did she take it and forge information saying that she started the Deceptor, or did she get the information to give it to somebody else from Pine Valley who actually created the Deceptor? Is it a part of a bigger story? That's the question I still have. We know that Tracy is the one that's there representing the prosecution, or not prosecution, the plaintiff, as the civil trial, with Jackson Montgomery. But does it go deeper? Was it just her collecting evidence that somebody else took it, or did she forge the documents?
I don't know how much work she did. I'm more interested, I'm not as interested in how she did it. I'm more interested in why.
Yeah.
The why part of it all, because why does she need that money from deception? Right. Like, isn't she rich already? Like,
exactly.
Why does she need the money?
And then now with deception basically being, or the Deceptor being frozen for 6 months as we wait to the trial, that gives us more time for Jackson Montgomery to come back and bring his character back. And could we potentially, and there's no rumor out there, I don't have any inside information or anything, but could we see Erica Kane step into Port Charles if that's where this ultimately goes?
Can they get Erica Kane? I mean, that's kind of like a legendary character. I don't know if they can get Erica Kane. They can. I mean, hey.
I mean, Susan Lucci, I'm sure if the storyline is right, I'm sure Susan Lucci would want to come on to General Hospital.
Sure. I mean, she's still acting?
As far as I know. I mean, I honestly haven't seen her in anything outside of All My Children. So, I mean, I know she's probably done some, like, Hallmark movies or, like, made-for-TV stuff, but Lifetime movies. But I've never actually seen her in anything outside of All My Children.
Yeah. I don't know. Speaking of, just a side note, I know this is, like, unrelated to GH, but I bought like an Erica Kane book when I was like in college. It's fabulous. She writes great books. Whoever the writer for that book was, I mean, obviously it's not Susan Lucci, but I mean, whoever wrote the Erica Kane books.
I bought the Spinelli book, which was I think I've got the Spinelli book, and I've also got the one that Molly wrote, or Connie took credit for writing or changed up or whatever it was.
Yeah,
with that storyline.
I don't have those, but I always find it interesting when the soap operas have like these character books and they come out with them. So I like it, but yeah, I mean, I think it'd be great if Susan Lucci came on the show. I think they get a boost in the ratings for sure. for that, and that would get a lot of attention. And I think GH needs all the help it can get, because traditionally I think GH has been like second or third place.
Yeah.
The ratings, it's usually Y&R and Bold and the Beautiful that I believe hold the first and second place for most viewers.
Yeah.
In the week from the ratings that I looked up a while back. I haven't looked at any recently, but traditionally, I think in the past that's what I've seen.
So that's actually something I wanted to bring up. Last episode I did I did kind of pose the question of the ratings for soap operas. I haven't been able to find anything yet. So I'm still on the hunt, trying to find out where to find the ratings, on a day-to-day basis, week-to-week basis for the soap operas. So I'm still looking. So, and actually talking about, Susan Lucci coming in as a big name and a big bump in ratings, I put out a Twitter poll or an X poll late last week, and it just basically ran it over the weekend as to, with the SAG-AFTRA actors on strike and the writers still on strike, in order to increase ratings, should the soap opera producers or should the soap operas go ahead and hotshot to bring up ratings? And the options were either yes, no, or what is hotshotting? And overwhelmingly 95% of people asked what is hotshotting. So it's a term in the wrestling industry where, a booker or somebody, head writer, booker, brings in, a big name act or writes to the point where there's a lot of excitement, there's a lot of action, just to bring up the ratings, bring up the attendance, bring up the numbers for the specific territory, company, what have you. A lot of people look at the Attitude Era in the late 90s of the WWE as Vince Russo hot-shotting the territory. Same thing when he went over to WCW. Same thing was that what is happening with AEW right now and Tony Khan is that they're hot-shotting. It's not sustainable, but it brings in a big a little bump in the ratings that could create new fans. So the reason why I posed the question, we saw Jackson Montgomery coming in, for another couple days this time. We've heard that Blair Kramer is coming in from One Life to Live. Cassie DePaiva is coming back in as Blair. So they're clearly going into the history of that ABC soap universe. So would it be out of the realm of possibility while there's a lot of shows that are on hiatus because of the actors strike, while daytime could keep going, should they reach into the kind of the history books and bring back some of these legendary characters from their own library of soaps? So bring back like a Vicky Lord from One Life to Live for a couple episodes, and or bring back, like I said, Susan Lucci or any of the characters from Life. Dr. David Hayward and Vincent Arizari is off contract somewhere. Especially with Anna going through her stuff, they were married at one point on All My Children, so it would make sense for him to come back, and come in. But that's my biggest question, is to whether or not they should tap into the history and tap into the different soap operas that were on the same network.
I mean, they have the opportunity to do that now that lawsuit
is over.
Prospect Park is over, so I don't see why they couldn't. But I haven't seen them really make any steps in that direction. I mean, we haven't seen any AMC or One Life to Live, characters back on GH. I would love it, but I don't know if they're gonna. It doesn't seem like they're that interested in going in that direction.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I would be fine with it, like a little guest stint here or there for storyline purposes for a little bit. I don't think we need any new long-term characters.
Right, exactly.
I've said this before, and I have 10 people right now I can cut from GH without even thinking about it.
No, and I get that. GH already has a very bloated cast as it is, because you don't see people for weeks on end, and then all of a sudden they're there for one scene and then they're gone. Um, but it does beg the question, if they're able to bring in the other characters for one, for let's say a week, two or three episodes. Blair's going to be on for 2 episodes, and just a little bit of a story arc to help progress some story, to help bring awareness for some, bring some new information in for a specific character. I think it would be fun, but that's just me. All right, let's move on. All right, so one of the, I guess, weirdest stories that I saw last week towards the end of the week was Olivia trying to jog Eddie's memory with kind of being up at the pool area and having him relive or reenact the fall. It didn't work, clearly, but it did show that Olivia and Eddie can be friends, and I think that's what they agreed to.
That was weird. I thought that was really kind of sweet of her. I mean, not sweet of her. I mean, it made sense, I think, for what she's trying to do, and I kind of wish they had tried to do this maybe sooner, honestly. But I was almost hoping he would, like, something would happen to move that story forward, because I think at this point either he's got to hit his head again to get his memory back, or like, are we going to do some Disney, thing where Olivia gives him true love's kiss and we just get it over with? Like, I mean, let's just give the dude his memory back, because this whole Eddie Main wanting to be a busker and playing the Savoy or other nightclubs and on street corners and fight with other buskers, like, this is not going to fly long term. It's going to get ridiculous.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I although they did do that with, chasing Brook Lynn and Leo's Liquid Love or whatever it was from I forget what they called it during that
you know what, that Liquid Love, whatever Leo cooked up for chasing Brooklyn. That kid needs to come up with some kind of scenario to get the memory back for Eddie, and I think they could use Leo as the real key.
I agree,
and I think it would work well, and it'd be really cute.
And I think in the end it will be Leo as the conduit to bring Olivia and bring Ned out of Eddie, and bring Olivia and Ned back together. I really think that it's a possibility of Leo kind of getting to Eddie and saying, hey, you say you're not my dad, but you look a lot like him, and I understand that you're Eddie, but you're a really nice person, and my mom likes you a lot. But something to that effect that would bring them together.
Yeah, I love that kid. I will say Leo's probably my favorite GH kid, aside from like Elizabeth's kids.
Speaking of Elizabeth's kids, we did see Jake with Wyatt this week. It seems they bring Wyatt in once a year during the summer to kind of have one scene with Austin. And I didn't actually realize that Wyatt was actually the son on One Life to Live when Roger Howarth came back as Todd, to foil Victor's plan, who was impersonating Todd. I didn't realize that was the same kid until I didn't even realize it.
I didn't even realize it was like Jake's friend. I thought, oh, did they like recast Aiden or something? Is he Cyrus? Like, for a second, I was like, wait, what's happening here? And then they said why, and I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah. But he has come in for one episode almost every summer for the past 5 or 6 years.
I mean, he's cute. Keep him.
So, but I agree. It should have been Aiden. We rarely ever see any of Elizabeth's kids on the show. Jake every so often. We rarely ever see Aiden. We know Cam's in college. which I honestly thought that Cam would have been back at some point soon, for his summer break, but maybe it's coming up considering it's General Hospital 6 weeks ahead. So, in a month it would technically be when the 6 weeks off for college or whatever. But again, I thought that was the plan of him coming back at some point.
Maybe he'll show up for Elizabeth's birthday, November 1st.
Could be.
Possibility. Or
Yeah.
Thanksgiving or Christmas. So we have those holidays too.
Yes. All right. So next thing, they've got a couple more topics to go over. Kind of smaller. I mean, we already broached the subject, but Chase did ask Brook Lynn to move in with him at the end of the week. Once Brook Lynn was so upset with Tracy, she came clean to Chase, and Chase didn't blame her at all. Chase kind of like, hey, it's Tracy's fault. Tracy put you in that position, and I was actually shocked that she came right out with it, and instead of kind of hiding it. And that shows a lot of growth for her character.
Yeah, I was going to say that. It's growth for her character. It's growth for their relationship, that it's gotten to this point where they can share things openly with each other. I am glad that Chase had to, give some convincing to Brook Lynn to move in, because she's like, well, the first time, we couldn't stand each other. The second time it was for Bailey, and the third time he's like, well, the third time will be for love. I'm like, oh, you're adorable, aren't you? So I'm like, I want to be happy for them, because I feel like they are making more serious steps towards it being a serious long-term relationship, which is what I want it to be. But the fact is, we see them maybe once a week, twice a week if we're lucky, and then another week goes by, and nothing will happen. So I know we'll talk about this moving in, and we probably won't see him till the end of this week or next week, because that's just how General Hospital is. There's just not a lot of good follow through. And I had another friend of mine ask me about this on X, and I was just like, he's like, do you think we're going to get quick follow-up? And I'm like, quick follow-up? There's no such thing as quick follow-up on General Hospital. No, not when it comes to Chase and Brook Lynn. That's a very, back burner storyline story for GH. I would expect them to become on the screen more often with the Ned and Olivia stuff. And with a little bit with the Nettie and Olivia stuff, but more so because we got to find out, Chase has got to find out about his dad having ALS.
Exactly.
So when that comes more to the forefront, he finds out, then I would expect Chase and Brook Lynn to be on hopefully a little bit more often, or at least probably a little bit more often in 1 or 2 weeks.
Yeah, I agree.
But as far as their relationship, I do want them to I know it seems soon, considering it feels like they just got back together, but they moved so slow with them to get to the second kiss that I just don't want them to move it along. Just say, okay, I see a future with you. Get them headed towards marriage.
I agree. Yep.
Please. They took so long with them, and I think they lost half the fan base because they took too long with them. People lost interest, and that's what happened. General Hospital, get together.
I agree.
Pick up the pace.
Yeah, no, they do. They do have to pick up the pace with that. I enjoyed it. I think I liked how Brook Lynn was kind of pointing out every single thing that went wrong the first time. And they've actually danced around it a number of times, because if you think about it, not only did they live in Jax's house while they were raising Bailey, but also there was at one point in time, Brook Lynn moved in with Chase in his apartment for a little bit while she was recovering from her, from the wound from Nell attacking her. So, they've danced around it a couple times. I think they're finally at the place to really cement their relationship, move in together, You know, we've seen how there's been a lot of ups and downs, and that storyline has taken a while to kind of get to a certain place, but I think they're there now. And it's just, I honestly think they should speed it up going forward. You know,
Yeah, but the moving in was a good sign for Chase and Brooklyn's
of course,
relationship, because that to me tells me that GH is thinking about them getting married, because that's kind of like usually where couples go
yep,
when they get serious on GH is like, all right, let's move in together. So you know the marriage is down the line.
right,
You know
exactly.
that's part of the storyline for them in the future, which is a good. That's good.
Yes,
It makes me
you're
feel
exactly
good,
right.
Chase and Brooklyn fan. So I'm very happy about that. I just would like them to pick up the pace a little bit. And I think I've already made peace with this, that we probably won't get a Chase and Brooklyn love scene, because the only time we got it, it was just in the very beginning of a larger montage for a bunch of other couples that were also making love that night, because
Yeah.
everyone was apparently like, let's get it tonight. Like, you know? So I was like, okay.
I'm kind of wondering if that's Brooklyn, the actor that plays Brooklyn, what's her name? Um,
Yeah, and Amanda.
yeah, Amanda Seton. I wonder if it's almost like we never see her wear anything less than a business suit type of attire. You know, full coverage of her shirts and very, I don't think I've ever seen her wear something that shows any type of cleavage at all. So I wonder if it's her that just is
No,
very
I think
intimidating.
it's her. This is why I was going to say I think I've come to peace why they're not going to get a love scene, and I think it's because I think it's an actress thing.
Yeah.
And I asked Josh actually about a love scene when I did, I think, my last Zoom with him. He said something to the effect of, "Well, does anybody really want to watch like two actors like go at it like that?" I'm like, yeah, people do though.
That's
People
the point of
think about
Love
it.
in
I
the
mean, that's
Afternoon.
the point of Love in the Afternoon, bro.
Yeah.
Like, um, people want to see it happen. I'm, I think it is. It must be like a preference
Yeah.
that the two actors have,
Right.
or at least she has. I think in regards to the wardrobe, some of them have been really strange wardrobe
Yeah.
choices. And the
Especially
last
for a woman
one,
in her late 20s, early 30s.
yeah, it's just weird. Like I mean, they did have their love scene, and then the morning after, she was in her pajamas
Yeah.
in bed. When normally, when scenes open like that after lovemaking, it looks like she's wearing nothing, even
Right.
though the actress is wearing something under. But they
Right.
give
It's
the
that L
illusion that
blanket.
she's nude under the sheets, right?
Yeah.
So they didn't do that for her, and I thought that was a really interesting choice. So I was like, I think it's just an Amanda thing, and I want to respect her
Of
in her
course.
space, and I
Yeah.
want to respect that. Okay, they're probably not going to get like a grand love scene of them taking each other's clothes off and doing the whole bit. Like, it's probably not going to happen for them, and I've kind of made peace with the fact that it's
You
not
have to
going to
respect it.
happen. But if it does happen, I'll be really excited. But it's probably not going to happen. I mean, I think it would be amazing. Josh, I don't think he has any trouble
No.
taking his clothes off. Obviously, he doesn't care if he's eye candy. He's like, I know GH is using me for this. It's fine. I'm good with bearing skin. Because even when they went skinny dipping at the pool and
Yeah.
like she was supposed to, disrobe and like take off more than she did, she didn't. And I was like, yeah, this has got to be like, the more and more they show, I'm like, I think they're making it a point. Like, Josh is okay with taking his clothes off.
Yeah.
Amanda, maybe not. So, and that's okay. I have to just make peace with the fact that my favorite couple on screen is not probably going to have like the love scene, the
Right.
R-rated love scene that I want them to have. And that's, you know what? It's okay.
Exactly. All right. Let's move on to the final. Actually, I mean, before we get to the final thing on my notes, at least we really haven't had much in terms of Spencer and Trina this week together. Trina was dealing with her stuff with her family. Spencer was, I don't know. Did we even see
Talking to Alexis.
Yeah, that's right.
Talking to
Yeah.
Alexis.
Spencer was
He
talking
had
to
the scenes
Alexis.
in school with Alexis, yeah. Which I actually thought were really good because she was like, you know, I'm really the closest thing you have to like a family member right now,
Yeah,
which is
exactly.
like great. I'm glad.
Yeah.
I'm glad she's there for him in that sense. And I think he needs counsel
Yeah.
from her.
And she put it out there. She's like, you know, you can co-parent with Esme not living under the same roof.
Yeah. She made I'm glad she made that point because I was like,
Yeah.
thank you. At least someone said something.
Exactly.
No one is like, oh, I'm so happy to see Spencer and Esme living under the same roof, raising a child together.
Right.
Like, I don't think anyone's super happy about that.
Well,
like,
the Sabrina fans, as from what I've read in the spoilers, within the next 2 weeks, Sabrina is supposed to have a love scene. So that may make some of the Sabrina fans happy.
Yeah.
That they've been clamoring for it. All right. Last but not least, the last thing on my notes, at least, I've got is Dante and trying to visit Sasha, Cody trying to get Sam to commit him, and Cody talking to the therapist as to why, you know, he's trying to, you know, feels like hurting himself and all that, which I thought that I kind of got mixed signals from it. Was Cody being real in those sessions, or was he putting on the facade in order to get committed to Ferncliff?
Yeah, you know, he was putting on a facade for sure. He was working that. I could tell he was trying to make it look like he was,
ready to hurt himself, right?
Yes, he was ready to hurt himself. And that's kind of what I figured the angle they were going to have to go for, because I was like, all right, he's going to say he feels like killing himself or hurting himself in some way.
Yeah.
In the second, he was like, yeah, I just don't feel like being on this earth anymore. And I went out to the ledge because of this. And I was like, yeah, that's a 72-hour hold. Let's book him. Like, you know, so he was trying to say the things to get him committed, for sure. I mean, good luck with that, man. I hope you get in there and you get what you want without that doctor coming for you with that needle. Because I don't know, you better watch out in there because that doctor seems pretty ruthless.
Yeah, I agree. And then Sasha kind of talking to the nurse saying, you know, this is who I am. I'm not usually high on drugs, but I swear Dr. Montague is injecting me with something. And I honestly thought that the nurse was kind of going to pick up on it, you know, being that, you know, she's the one that has more contact. But then she goes right to Dr. Montague and saying that, you know, Sasha's saying you're the one that's giving her the drugs. You know, it just, that to me almost, I don't know. I've never been somebody to work. I've never worked with somebody in, you know, in a psychiatric hospital. So I don't know if, you know, if there are ever red flags, or maybe they just don't take these people seriously, you know, so that when they do say, no, this doctor is giving me XYZ, instead of going right to the doctor, they fill out some kind of a, you know, let's have an investigation form.
Yeah, I don't really know how that works, like at least in real life. But of course, it's GH, so
right.
They're gonna have this crazy doctor get away with it. So it would make sense for me for what Gladys is saying, like, oh, this doctor wants a $50,000 payout. She went to Nina for that. Yeah. I was like, great. My two least favorite people in a room together talking about a $50,000 payout. Oh, this should be
but Nina held her own, and Nina was in the right, in my opinion. I think Nina did a good thing this week and says, listen, if you're not going to tell me the truth, you're going to go to Sonny. I'm not helping you.
Yeah, no. I actually was with Nina too. I was like, yeah, I actually agreed with Nina in that conversation. Gladys is just like, Gladys. But Nina saw through all her BS. She was like, no, you're hiding something. What's the real reason here? What's going on? Like, she knew. She picked up on all of Gladys' tricks probably because Nina has used them herself. So she knows.
My father used to tell me never bullshit a bullshitter, and that's exactly what Gladys tried to do. Gladys tried to bullshit her way through, why she needed the money. The one good thing she said was that, she tried to use the money for deception, but the assets are frozen right now. So, and Nina picked right up on it and said, wait a minute, so you're using, Sasha's money for, for whatever, to pay off this doctor. And, it's just, I enjoyed I enjoyed that scene, and I was really glad that Nina was, for once, the voice of reason.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, there's some moments. There's some moments where I'm like, all right, Nina's not so bad. I can tolerate her because
Right.
she did a good thing and she cares about Sasha for one. So yeah, she earned some points. It was all right. But I mean, the whole nurse thing, and they still have Josh's wife, by the
Yeah.
way, who's playing Nurse Janice, which I think
Yep.
is nice. But yeah, she's not very smart. She's gonna go straight to the doctor and be like, "So I heard from the patient that you're drugging her with XYZ."
Exactly.
I would be bringing that to somebody who's above us, like
Right.
the
I
boss
agree.
of the doctors, who's in charge of hiring the doctors and overseeing and supervising all of that. So that was just a little like oh, I don't think Sasha telling the nurse is gonna do anything. Unfortunately, at least not right now. So it's sad. So I hope Cody can get in there and be smart and not get needled himself by that crazy doctor.
Right. No, you're exactly right. All right. I mean, is there anything else that you have noted down to go over? I think we've covered just about every subject for this week's episodes.
Didn't Maxie move into Lulu's house?
That's right. Friday, Maxie moved into Lulu's house.
Yeah.
Maxie and Felicia were there. Georgie and James were running to get their rooms. I really liked how Georgie kind of said, "Yeah, I love the house, but it'll always be, Aunt Lulu's house."
Yeah.
And Maxie's like, "Yeah, I understand. It's the same thing." And I liked that scene. I liked that Felicia was there with them for it. And it's blatant foreshadowing that Lulu's going to be waking up anytime now.
Yeah, you think? You think they're gonna bring her back?
I think so. I mean, I would love to see Julie Berman retake the role. I really liked when she was Lulu. M. Ryland was good, but I didn't think that she had that edge like a real Spencer.
Yeah, I thought Emmy was good too. I would be fine with Julie back or Emmy. I mean, I'll take either. Like, either way, whatever they're, unless they legally give it to a whole new actress, which is always a possibility with GH. You never know.
And here's something. And here's something that Matt from the 10th Floor put out on his podcast. Martha Madison recently left Days. Her final scenes are coming up anytime now. So she could definitely be a good Lulu. If they decide to age up the character a little more, that's the right age group. She looks like a Spencer. If that's the case, there's no rumors out there, folks, so I'm not putting anything out in the ether, but that would be a good casting decision if it went that way.
Yeah, sure. Martha's great. I've seen her on Days, right?
Yep.
So, Days. So, I mean, I've seen enough of Days. I'm not a big fan of Days right now. They got a lot going on in Days that I'm just not a fan of. It just kind of rubbed me the wrong way. I was like, all right, y'all people don't even like give your proper people the respect of a phone call anymore. Like, what is going on over here? So, just kind of rubbed the wrong way with Days. So, yeah, I mean, I'm open to it. I mean, Lulu has actually been one of my favorite characters in the past.
Yeah.
I don't mind her. Some people find her like, I don't know, they just don't like her. They find her annoying. I actually feel that way about Maxie. I'm not really a Maxie fan. I've actually found her really annoying in the past. So I'm more of a Lulu fan.
Yep.
I really liked Lulu's history. Like when I first started watching the show, it was all about the hot teen storyline of the summer, which was like Dylan, Lulu,
Yeah. Yep.
Georgie, and then
Finale. Yeah.
before he was the text message
Oh,
killer,
Diego.
Diego, loved him. Made no sense why he killed Georgie. No sense whatsoever. I'm like, he loved her. I
I
don't
missed that
understand.
storyline, so I didn't get to see that storyline.
Yeah, it was a crazy storyline. It's crazy.
But,
That's when I really started getting into GH. I think I honestly feel like for GH, the early 2000s was kind of like the last time they peaked is like a really, really good soap opera. I mean, there's been some great storylines in the last 10 years, but I mean, I think that was the last, like, what I would call like a good heyday for GH was like the early 2000s. It's just kind of been, ebbed and flowed since
right.
then, some good years, some not so good years. But anyways, I'm interested to see how the set will look. And I was trying to remember in my head, like, do I recognize this set from the past or Lulu's house?
Mm-hmm.
It's like the old house where her and Dante first lived, right? When they got married, right? So I think I remember it looking that way before. So it'll be interesting to see how they decorate it for Maxie and her kids. And I think it was so cute. Like her kids are really cute and adorable. So I will look forward to it, and I like that, they still have like Mac and Felicia on. I just love that.
Yeah.
That they're keeping up that history and that Felicia's there for her daughter. And yeah, we'll see where things go, and we'll see if when Lulu comes back, like where's she gonna live?
Exactly.
Like where are they gonna put her? So.
Oh, and Robert bought a new car. Robert and Diane continue this game of cat house, and I really like how Diane is kind of almost manipulating Robert into, when Robert says, well, I hope your friend Chris won't mind if I take you for a ride sometime. And she's like, well, Chris is a girl, so, I don't think she'd mind, or something to that effect. And I think Robert's being used correctly now. He's kind of involved in a couple of different storylines. Anna went to Robert and, said, do you have any contacts that you could check in on a pikeman? And, because I feel like Valentine is lying to me. And Robert said he's going to keep an eye on him. But he did say the pikeman has contracts worldwide. So, and apparently the WSB kind of has the burned Anna and Robert. They don't have them either in good graces. We know that they burned Anna after Victor's death and him releasing the information. But I guess that extends to Robert now too, that he has no contacts in the WSB anymore. So it remains to be seen how that happens. But I do like how Robert's being used, and he and Diane going back and forth in a war of wits, so to speak.
I'm fine with them as friends, but this whole romantic angle they're trying with Diane and Robert, I'm sorry, I'm not feeling it. I'm not feeling any kind of chemistry there. The last pairing that I really liked for Diane was when she was with Max, and that fell to the wayside.
Yeah.
So I don't think they're really trying for some kind of spark between Diane and Robert. I'm just not feeling it. Like, that's fine if they're friends. Like, I don't care if they're friends. I'm just, it's just kind of lackluster for me. I'm not feeling anything. I'm like, I like Diane as a character. It's just, it's not really an issue with characters per se. I like them separately for the history they bring to the table and and their witty banter. It's fine, but it's just not working for me. It's just one of those couples where I'm like, I thought there might be chemistry in there. It's not.
Yeah.
There's not.
I agree. Well, I kind of agree. I think they do have good chemistry, but I think they kind of made Robert into this like Yeah, Diane's great, and I'm going to see her. That is until Holly comes back into the picture again for the umpteenth time.
Right. Like it feels like there's some greater love out there
Yeah.
for him that's not Diane. He's just like biding his time. It's not, yeah, it's not working for me. And that's a disservice to Diane because she is such an amazing woman that she deserves better than that. And I think she knows
Right.
that.
All right. Well, that's about it. I think we've gone over the hour. Um, but
Yep.
Christy, where can everybody find you?
Let's see, I'm not so much on X anymore. Like, I'm not going to talk too much on my At Lee is on radio profile is still there, but I'm not really on it. And I'm just not a huge fan of X in general as an app. It's just very negative. But people can find me mainly on Instagram at Roswell Virtual Party if you like Roswell content. And I'm also at Creative Fan 15. That's both on I think X and Instagram. And yeah, I think actually Liaison Radio does have a Facebook page. It's like facebook.com/Liaison Radio Fans. I'm not on there like terribly enough, but yeah. And then Instagram.com/Liaison Radio as well. So that's where you can find me.
All right. As always, surf over to our website, our brand new website, sudsandsquaredcircle.com. That has everything there. It has the audio feed, it has a video feed, it's got biographies of both of us, as well as the guests that have been on the show in the past that I'm working on getting those biographies together. And then you could also fill out the information to not only try to or to fill out the form to become a guest on one of these episodes, as well as also giving us some reviews, 5-star review wherever you find your favorite podcast. That definitely helps us with our rankings. Subscribe, especially on Apple Music or Apple Podcasts. If you're listening, go ahead and give us a 5-star review and subscribe. Watch or subscribe, like, and get the notifications for YouTube. YouTube.com/@Suds in the Squared Circle. So yeah, Suds in the Squared Circle. Like and follow on Facebook, facebook.com/Suds and Squared Circle. Follow on X @Suds SQ Circle Pod, or you can follow me at the Apicella Suds. Let's see, we've got follow on TikTok @Suds_squared_circle. Follow on Instagram @Suds and Squared Circle, and it's the same on Threads @Suds and Squared Circle. And buy our merch, sudsquarecircle.threadless.com. There's also a link to that page, to that website on our website. Again, sudsandsquaredcircle.com. All right, Christy, anything, any closing notes, any closing things you want to go over?
Closing notes. Not really. I'm looking forward to another week on GH. Let's see how things shake out. Some more crazy brother Cyrus. Some more crazy sermons. Maybe.
I agree. I think Cyrus is going to have a big part in the upcoming storylines.
I'm looking forward to it. I'm glad they kept him around because he's an amazing.
I agree. As a quick programming note, next week I know for a fact we will not be recording on Sunday. I'm actually going to see Rob Zombie and Alice Cooper in concert. Can't wait for that.
Have fun.
Thank you. I can't wait for that next Sunday. So we'll be recording another day next week when we get our plan together. But for Christy, I'm Vinny. Thank you for watching and listening to Suds and the Squared Circle. Have a great week, everybody.